Discover the incredible hidden journey of the Continental Mark II. A heartwarming tale of American resilience. Jack stood at the assembly line, the rhythmic clanking of metal ringing in his ears, drowning out the ghosts of dreams that once flickered in the factories of Detroit. For 42 years, his hands molded and shaped each vehicle that rolled out, but his heart thrummed only for one thing: his son, Tim. At just 16, Tim radiated ambition, talking of college, dreams far beyond the city's industrial grip. Jack felt pride swell with every mention of it, yet fear clawed at him. Could he really send his only child off to chase a better future, leaving him behind in a place that felt like a forgotten relic? As he escaped the clamor of machines each evening, Jack would slide into the embrace of his garage, where his late father's prized Continental Mark II sat, draped in dust but glistening with memories. This car, he'd tell neighbors gathered around, was meant for the American dream. Bit by bit, he poured his soul into restoring it. The tasks were simple but fulfilling: tightening bolts, polishing chrome, each touch drawing a crowd from the neighborhood. Laughter filled the air, overtaking the weight of uncertainty hovering over their lives. Stories of glory days and struggles were exchanged, binding them in a fragile community forged by nostalgia. Before long, however, that warmth was disrupted by the news no father is fully prepared to hear. Tim, with his endless tenacity, had secured a scholarship that could take him thousands of miles away. Jack's heart sank. The possibility of his son thriving threatened to rip apart the very fabric of their close-knit bond. He had dreamed of a way out for Tim, but never anticipated it would mean losing him to the world beyond. Distraught yet yearning for insight, Jack found himself at a diner one rainy afternoon, where he encountered a weathered veteran named Eddie. As they shared a cup of coffee, Eddie recounted tales of resilience, of soldiers returning home with only the essence of past trauma and hope for the future. Jack listened, his chest tightening at the emotional weight spiraling within him. Eddie's laughter rang free, a dramatic contrast to Jack's internal storm, urging him to let go of the grip on the past and truly envision his son's future. Sometimes, Eddie reflected, you gotta break the chains for those you love. It's not just about holding on, it's about letting go. Jack returned home that night under the oppressive weight of those words. It gnawed at him. How could he relinquish the hold he'd fought so fiercely to maintain? Back in his garage, he found the car's exterior sparkling through tears that threatened to fall, his father's pride and his own dreams colliding in a chrome reflection. The garage was alive, filled with voices, but now more than ever, it echoed his heartache as father and son faced hard truths. Time was running out. A choice loomed just hours away, the stakes higher than ever, and the question danced painfully in the air. Would he free Tim to chase his dreams, or hold on tighter to a love that might just stifle him? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Jack and Tim stood before the almost finished Continental Mark II, a silence wrapped around them, a pregnant pause thick with unspoken feelings. The car glimmered as the sunset spilled golden light across its body, and they realized they were about to face their own crossroads. Dad Tim's voice wavered, balancing between hope and uncertainty, the future shimmering just out of reach. Would they choose the path of dreaming, or would fear keep them shackled in their embrace? The moment hung heavy, and Jack knew their next steps held power beyond the garage, an echo of their past, resonating into an uncertain future. The air was thick with anticipation, and Jack could feel his heart racing as he took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. Tim's gaze was fixed on the car, a mix of admiration and apprehension swirling in his eyes. Jack admired his son's steadfastness, but he also saw the anxiety creeping into his posture, a reminder of the weight of expectation. Dad, about the scholarship, Tim started, his voice breaking the silence, but Jack held up a hand. He wasn't ready for that talk yet. There was something electrifying about the presence of the Mark II, like it was somehow alive, filled with all the dreams it represented. But Jack was starting to realize that the car's legacy would not be the only thing defining their futures. "Let us just finish this," Jack said, trying to keep the tremor from his voice. They worked side by side, hands busy while their minds churned with unvoiced worries. Jack tightened the final bolts as Tim polished the chrome, each rhythmic scrape of cloth sending trails of memories through Jack's mind. He recalled the nights spent with his father, laughing and tinkering, each moment a lesson wrapped in love. "Do you think Granddad made any sacrifices for this?" Tim asked out of the blue. Jack paused, considering the question, anchoring himself in recollection. His father had struggled in the shadows, giving everything to provide for his family, but still managed to keep their dreams alive, vibrant as the polished car before them. "He did, kid. He worked hard to make sure I had what I needed," Jack replied, his heart full. "And it's up to us to carry that legacy forward." Tim smiled, the warmth breaking through his earlier tension. "I want to honor that. I want to take what you taught me and make my own path." Those words struck Jack like a pebble thrown into calm water, rippling through every fiber of his being. The reality was settling in, clear as day. This was not just a car. This was a vessel of dreams. Would Tim ever find his own dreams if he stayed tethered to the life they lived? "Then you have to do it." The gravity of the statement hung in the air, more pronounced than the scent of oil and metal surrounding them. "But what if I'm leaving you behind?" Tim's voice was laced with uncertainty, and the weight of it was like a leaden ball lodged in Jack's chest. "Son, what good would it do for you to chase after a future if all I can do is hold you back?" Jack finally voiced the fear that had settled in his heart. He recognized that staying meant sacrificing Tim's potential. That was a price he wasn't willing to pay. As dusk fell and shadows stretched across the garage, Jack stepped back, crossed his arms, and studied the finished car. "You deserve to fly, Tim." The words were heavy with emotion, tears framed behind the edges of his eyes, but they also carried hope. Tim stepped forward, meeting his dad's gaze. "I want to forget where I came from, or who helped me get there." Suddenly, the noise of their community outside swelled into the space, a harmony of laughter, music, and friendship. A reminder that Jack wasn't just losing his son. He was sowing new beginnings for both of them. As darkness enveloped them, Tim broke the silence. "So when do we take her for a spin?" A bittersweet smile crossed Jack's face. "How about tomorrow? Before you pack?" "Yeah, before I pack," Tim echoed, the weight of their fractured hopes shimmering between them. They both knew that soon, the car that embodied all they had shared would hit the road, and so would Tim. The quiet luminescence of possibilities flickered in Jack's heart, but the pain of change twisted in his gut. How could it feel so right and so wrong at the same time? Jack's mind was racing with thoughts, questions itching at him like a persistent itch. What would happen when the engines roared to life and they took that ride? Would it truly represent freedom, or would it underscore his loss? And with that, Jack steeled himself for the following day, the swirling uncertainties morphing into a singular truth. Life was about to change irrevocably. The voices and laughter from outside mingled with his thoughts, but now there was urgency beating in his chest. He glanced over at Tim, whose eyes sparkled with the light of dreams yet to be realized. What kind of life would lay before him on the other side of that ride? Tomorrow would come, and with it, choices that could redefine everything. The next morning came with a quiet resolve, the sun peeking through the cracks in the garage. Jack stood in front of the Mark II, hands resting on the cool metal, feeling the vibrations of memories within. Tim was still asleep, blissfully unaware of the roller coaster of emotions building up inside Jack. He wanted to cherish this moment, a last frozen frame before everything changed. But the tug of grief was strong, pulling at him like an anchor. Each breath echoed with what-ifs and futures unwritten. It wasn't long before he heard Tim's footsteps, the shuffle of his socks on the concrete floor. Jack turned, and there it was, the bright-eyed energy of youth, still untouched by the weight of real-world worries. The contrast hit Jack hard, bringing a lump to his throat. "Ready for the big day?" Tim asked, his voice sleepy yet laced with excitement. "As ready as I'll ever be," Jack replied, forcing a smile. Inside, he felt like 1,000 emotions were swirling around, colliding in a chaotic dance. "Let us fire her up," Tim exclaimed, as he rushed to his side, enthusiasm infectious. They slid into the well-worn seats of the car, the scent of leather and oil wrapping around them like a warm embrace. Jack noticed how the morning light filtered through the windshield, illuminating Tim's eager face. Would this be a moment they would remember forever? Or would it be painful, the bittersweet goodbye cloaked in adventure? "All right, just like we practiced," Jack instructed, trying to stay calm. "Keep an eye on the road and follow the rhythms." Tim nodded, determination shining in his eyes. Jack turned the key. The engine purred to life, a sound that sent a thrill through both of them. Just then, Jack felt a rush of nostalgia, as if the Mark II was alive, eager to carry its passengers into uncharted territory. Tim gripped the steering wheel, eyes wide with wonder. "I can't believe we're doing this, Dad. This is going to be amazing." Jack's heart swelled. He wanted to share in Tim's excitement but felt like a tether holding him back. As they pulled out of the garage, the sun broke free of the clouds, pouring light into the world around them. Jack couldn't help but feel they were driving into a new chapter, a one that didn't have to leave behind their shared past. With each turn, the landscapes unfolded like a story. Tim laughed and pointed out the familiar sights: the diner where they grabbed burgers, the park where they threw a ball countless times. These sights glinted with memories, too precious to forget. "Dad," Tim said, interrupting Jack's thoughts, "do you think I'm making a mistake?" Jack felt his heart stop, the weight of the question heavy in the air. "You mean about going away for school?" Tim's brow furrowed, a mixture of fear and hope written across his face. "Yeah. What if I get there and realize it's not for me?" The vulnerability of Tim's question pierced Jack. Here was his boy, still searching for his place in the world. Jack turned his gaze to the road ahead, the wind whipping through the open window, carrying away the moment like the leaves rustling in the breeze. "Remember, Tim," he said, trying to capture every sentiment, "it's about learning who you are and figuring it all out. No matter what happens, just know that it's okay to take risks." Tim nodded slowly, the uncertainty still shadowing his expression. "Yeah, I get that. I just don't want to regret leaving you behind." "We'll always have this," Jack reassured him, glancing at the car and then at Tim. "Just because you're moving forward, doesn't mean you're leaving me in the dust." A brief silence followed, heavy with unsaid words. Jack could see the turbulence within his son like a storm battling for control. They drove on, swallowed up by the high waves of emotions and the reality that soon, their paths would diverge. Sunshine flickered off passing cars, each one a reminder of the life waiting beyond their little bubble. "What if this ride isn't just about today?" Tim finally ventured, glancing sideways at his dad. Jack looked back with a growing sense of hope. "Then I guess it's about all the rides we still have ahead of us." But deep down, Jack wondered how many rides would it take before they found their way back to each other. As they approached a curve and the car began to glide effortlessly along the open road, Jack wondered about the journey ahead. Would it bind them tighter or pull them apart? The throttle response surged beneath Tim's hands, and Jack felt the thrill of the moment coalescing with the shadows of uncertainty looming ahead. Where was this adventure truly leading them? And would they both emerge stronger together? Or would they find themselves lost in the places they never expected to go? Jack's mind raced as they drove, thoughts swirling like leaves caught in a whirlwind. The road stretched ahead, smooth and inviting, but the glimmer of certainty seemed just out of reach. Tim's laughter brought him back to the moment, breaking through the fog of apprehension. "Did you see how that car just zoomed by us?" Tim grinned, his excitement infectious. "Yeah, it's like they were in a hurry to get somewhere," Jack replied, trying to lighten the mood. "Let us catch up," Tim declared, shifting his focus back to the road. Jack chuckled softly at his son's enthusiasm, but in that laughter, he felt an undercurrent of unease. The idea of racing against time was more than just a playful challenge on the road. It became a reminder of their fleeting moments together as they cruised through the familiar streets. The sun glinted off the Mark II's sleek body, reflecting the warmth that radiated from within. Jack watched as Tim maneuvered through traffic, weaving in and out with a skill that surprised him. It filled Jack with pride, a sense that his boy was growing up, ready to take on the world. Yet with that pride came a wave of nostalgia. Memories whispered through the air, weekends spent tinkering in the garage, late-night drives to nowhere, the heart-to-heart talks that had changed everything. How could he encapsulate all of it into words? "Hey, Tim?" he asked, his voice steady but laced with emotion. "What's the first thing you want to do when you get to school?" Tim's eyes sparkled with thoughts, and he seemed to lose himself in the question. "I want to explore. Really explore, meet new people, try new things. It's like an adventure waiting for me." Jack couldn't help but smile. But beneath that smile was an ache, the kind that sits heavy in your chest. "Just remember, it's not all about the destination. Take your time to enjoy the journey." "I will, Dad," Tim assured him, and for a moment, Jack felt like everything would be all right. Driving past the old gas station, once a pivotal pit stop, the memories threatened to overwhelm him. They had shared countless milkshakes there, laughter echoing off the walls. It rendered him speechless for a second, as he processed how quickly everything was changing. Would Tim still come back to visit? Would he remember these days fondly? Or would they fade like distant echoes? Abruptly, Tim's voice cut through his reverie. "Hey, look, a car show." Jack followed Tim's finger, seeing a handful of classic cars lined up by the roadside. Polished and gleaming in the sunlight, it felt like a festival of nostalgia. "Let us stop," Tim urged, excitement bubbling over. Reluctantly, Jack nodded, feeling the need to embrace every moment, no matter how small. Pulling into the gravel lot, he could see a mixture of families and enthusiasts gathered, their shared passion for cars lighting up the morning as they stepped out of the Mark II. The air filled with the sense of gasoline and slightly burnt rubber. Tim's eyes danced between the line of roaring engines and the shimmering chrome. Jack felt warmth wash over him as they joined in on the gathering, swapping stories with enthusiastic car lovers. It was in these fleeting interactions, sharing laughs, exchanging tips, that Jack began to feel a sense of peace. Maybe this was what it meant to embrace change, to savor both the past and the future. But as the day wore on, a question lingered in his heart. Would Tim's future hold moments as bright as this? In the glow of the setting sun, Jack caught Tim's eye, and for a moment, everything felt right, like they were still in sync. As they walked toward a 1966 Mustang, Jack couldn't help but dream. What new adventures awaited? Yet deep down, a nervous tremor flickered within him. With Tim's departure looming, the looming possibility of separation felt heavier. And as they examined the Mustang, Jack realized that life was a series of choices and roads traveled. Would they both take the right paths? Or would they drift apart into the vast unknown? The questions hung in the air, unsaid yet powerful, as they shared a glance filled with unspoken understanding. It was the kind of moment that would carve itself into memory, the precious kind that reminded him of the bond they shared, even when distance lay ahead. The Mark II continued to glisten under the fading sunlight, a steadfast companion now. Jack pondered the road stretching before them, both literal and figurative, as they made plans to leave the car show behind, uncertain of where their journey would ultimately lead. What twists would await them as they turned down the next road? Would this day mark a new beginning or a bittersweet farewell? The laughter of children nearby pulled Jack back into the moment. He glanced at Tim, whose face was lit up with eagerness and wonder. "Dad, look at that one," Tim shouted, heading toward an old Chevy with vibrant flames painted on the side. Jack followed, his heart swelling with affection. Tim's enthusiasm was contagious. He could feel the weight of his own worries lift a little, but each grin and excited jab at Jack's arm reminded him of the ticking clock. "I can't believe how amazing all these cars are," Tim gushed, running his hands over the shiny hood. "Imagine if we had one of these for cruising around." "Yeah, we'd never stop," Jack laughed, but the voice in his head whispered that soon, those leisurely drives might only be memories. "Can I take a picture with it?" Tim asked, pulling out his phone. "Absolutely," he replied, stepping back to capture the moment. As Tim posed, a wide grin plastered across his face. Jack took the picture, and then let his mind wander. What was it going to be like when he wasn't there to share moments like this with Tim? Suddenly, a gray-haired man approached them. "You've got a fine taste, son," he said, nodding toward the Chevy. "I had one just like it back in the day." "Really?" Tim's eyes widened, and Jack felt a surge of gratitude for this kind stranger, who seemed to pull his son further into the world he loved. "Yeah, this beauty took me all over the country. Had some wild adventures," he said with a chuckle. "Lost a couple of races, won a few. But it was never about that. It was about the connections, the memories we made." Jack looked on, his heart heavy with the wisdom of the stranger's words. Roads could lead you places, but the real journey was who you traveled with. "Do you think my dad and I can have adventures like that?" Tim asked, his voice bright with potential. "Why not?" The man replied, a twinkle in his eye. "It's about keeping your spirit alive no matter how far you go. Just don't forget your roots." Tim nodded, looking at Jack as if he'd just unlocked a treasure. Jack felt a knot tighten in his throat. His son was ready to spread his wings. Yet all Jack wanted was to hold onto these moments a little bit longer. As they walked back to the Mark II, a slight breeze caught Jack's hair. Everything felt alive, the laughter, the cars, the subtle exchanges of stories. Yet, each sound also echoed the realization of change that loomed ahead. "Dad?" Tim's voice broke through Jack's thoughts again. "Yeah? Do you think I'll come back to visit? I want to show you everything I learn." Jack smiled, hiding his unease behind a brave facade. "Of course, buddy. You're always welcome at home. But would it be the same? Would he still see the same spark in Tim's eyes over a shared milkshake at their favorite diner? Or would those days become just a fond memory? "Maybe we can plan a father and son road trip next summer before you go off to college," Tim proposed, eyes shining with excitement. Jack's heart raced, the idea a flicker of hope in the thick cloud of uncertainty. "I'd love that," he said, though part of him felt that it was more than just a trip. It was a way to tie the future to their past, a bridge across the gap they might soon find themselves standing on as they settled into the car, ready to leave the show behind. A vibrant sunset painted the sky with rich oranges and purples. Tim turned to Jack. "Let us make the trip epic." "Absolutely," Jack exclaimed, the fire of excitement they shared rekindling a bit of his own youthful spirit. But deep down, a reminder tugged at him: time was not on their side. As they drove away, Jack wondered if they could truly capture all these fleeting moments before they slipped into the vast unknown. What adventures lay ahead on that open road? And would they be able to hold onto the connections that mattered most as they ventured toward uncertain horizons? As they cruised down the road, the remnants of car show excitement still danced in Tim's eyes. Jack couldn't help but glance over at his son, who seemed lost in thought. The setting sun bathed everything in a warm glow, accentuating the contours of Tim's youthful face. Occasionally, Tim would speak up, suggesting places they'd visit on their upcoming trip: a vintage diner, an old amusement park, and even a few historic landmarks. Each idea unraveled new threads of joy in Jack's heart, yet an echoing ache reminded him of the fragile nature of time. "These adventures won't just be about where we go, but about what we'll see," Tim said, his voice filled with the kind of ambition that warmed Jack's soul. "It'll be like our own movie, Dad." "Yeah," Jack chuckled, "starring us, the best duo around." But even in his laughter, anxiety crept in. Would he be able to guide Tim through life's twists as skillfully as sidestepping traffic on a road trip? Or would he get lost, leaving his son to navigate the roads alone? The scenery shifted outside the window, stretching out into rolling hills and patches of vibrant green. Ironically, it felt like the paths they dreamt about began to open before their very eyes. The horizon transformed into a canvas of golden light, symbolizing endless possibilities. "What if we make a list of all the places we want to hit?" Tim suggested, swaying in rhythm with the music blaring from the stereo. "How about we do that? And we can rank them based on your favorites," Jack encouraged, feeling a swell of excitement. It was a simple game, but it sparked something between them, a connection running deeper with each mile. Tim's eyes darkened as he considered the list. "You think we'll have enough time? With school starting soon?" "Of course we will," Jack answered with a fervor that surprised even him. We've got the whole summer. We just need to make it count. Tim nodded, but Jack caught the flicker of doubt in his son's eyes. It was the same doubt he felt, as if they both stood on a precipice. They were stepping into a time filled with excitement and fear, a bridge to a future that beckoned yet felt distant as they drove past a picturesque field of wildflowers. A sense of nostalgia washed over Jack. It felt like yesterday when Tim was just a little guy excited about finding bugs in the backyard. Now they were planning a road trip, one that symbolized the end of childhood and the brink of adulthood. The thought unsettled him, a reminder that every adventure held an unspoken farewell. "Dad, can I ask you something?" Tim broke the silence, tapping his fingers against the window. "Sure. Anything. What if the trip doesn't go the way we hope? What if it's not epic?" His voice held genuine concern, and Jack felt the weight of those words settling like gravel in his stomach. "Hey," Jack reached over and patted Tim's knee. "Some of the best memories come from the unexpected stuff. Sometimes the bumps in the road make for the best stories." "Yeah, like that time we got lost trying to find the campsite?" Tim laughed, the tension easing. "We ended up at that random pizza place instead." "Exactly. Remember how good that pepperoni tasted?" Jack chuckled. "As long as we're together, we'll have fun no matter what." But in his heart, a different worry rested. The thought that soon, they could find themselves exploring uncharted territories alone. The road ahead seemed endless, yet it mirrored the uncertain path of their lives. With the evening settling deep, Jack turned onto a quieter road flanked by tall trees, wrapping around like protective arms. The radio faded to a light hum, and for a moment, they drove in comfortable silence. Tim pulled out his phone, scrolling to find a map. "Should we look up some classic car shows on the way?" he asked, eyes brightening again. "That's a great idea. Let us make the journey part of the adventure," Jack replied, pride swelling in his chest. But as they mapped out their course, a question danced in the air between them: could they truly savor every moment if it was so fleeting? With the glow of the sunset dimming in the rearview mirror, Jack took a deep breath. Would the memories they were about to create be enough to carry him through the changes to come? As the road stretched out before them, he caught Tim glancing back at him, smiling. "Ready for our epic journey, Dad?" Jack smiled back, the warmth of connection flickering against the unknown. "Yes, more than anything. Let's see where the road leads us." As they carried on, their laughter echoed in the growing dusk. But in Jack's heart, a void lingered, hinting that the destinations they sought might not be the only treasures to uncover. What secrets lay in the distance, just waiting to be discovered? And what challenges would test the bond that had held them strong for so long? The miles slipped away under the rhythm of the tires against the asphalt, blending with the soft hum of the engine. Jack's heart raced not just from excitement but from an underlying fear of what lay ahead. He wanted to give Tim these moments a buffer against the world outside that felt increasingly complicated. "Dad, look!" Tim exclaimed, pointing out the window as they approached a towering sign for a roadside attraction. "That's the world's largest ball of yarn. Can we stop? A giant ball of yarn?" Jack chuckled, looking at Tim with mock seriousness. "Is that what they call an epic stop?" Tim beamed, caught up in the joy of spontaneity, and Jack couldn't resist. "All right, let us do it. Who can pass up on something like that?" Tim clapped his hands together, the initial worry momentarily forgotten. Jack turned off the highway onto a gravel road, the crunch under the tires sending up little puffs of dust. They were on a detour, an adventure whether small or grand. A sign greeted them. "Welcome to Yarnville, home of big yarns and bigger dreams." As they parked, Tim hopped out, his energy overflowing. Jack followed, smiling at the sight of his son racing ahead to get a picture with the colossal yarn ball that seemed almost cartoonish in its size. "Smile like you just won the lottery," Jack teased, snapping a quick photo. Tim struck a pose, arms spread wide, eyes sparkling. "This is so cool," Tim exclaimed, examining the various yarn-themed memorabilia in the gift shop. For a moment, it felt like time stood still, a perfect snapshot of carefree joy. Yet even in this vibrant moment, Jack felt a tightening in his chest. He watched Tim laugh, his roots still so innocent, yet the world loomed larger every day. The shift to adulthood beckoned, and the more they explored, the more Jack was reminded of how quickly things could change. "Hey, Dad," Tim called, pulling out a brightly colored yarn ball keychain. "You should get this. Then we can always remember this stop." Jack's heart swelled at his son's thoughtfulness. "You know what? Let us get one for each of us," he said, feeling the weight of a single moment ignite a warmth inside. Back in the car, they strapped in two small keychains shining against their backdrop of adventure. Jack fired up the engine again and they set off, re-energized and ready for more discoveries. Where to next? Tim leaned forward, scanning the map with fiery determination. "When in doubt, let south follow the road signs," Jack said, taking a deep breath. In that instant, he decided, let us head toward that old amusement park. It's supposed to have some classic rides. Tim erupted with excitement, his earlier worries fading into the background for now. The conversation flew between them again, Tim sharing stories about old roller coasters he'd read about, while Jack interjected with tales of his own childhood escapades. Yet, as the horizon opened up, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that each moment was both a gift and a reminder of the time they had left before the inevitable transition came crashing down. What would happen when summer turned to fall and responsibilities crept back in? "Dad?" Tim broke the playful chatter, expressions shifting from laughter to sincerity. "What if things change too much when school starts? What if you can't come to all my games anymore?" The question hung heavy in the air. Jack glanced sideways at his son, the innocent joy flickering for a moment. "Tim, no matter what happens, I'll always be your biggest fan. That one T ever change. Promise?" Tim's voice was small but hopeful. "Promise, buddy," Jack replied with a firm nod, though he felt the uncertainty gnawing deep inside. As they merged back onto the highway, a quiet resolve settled over the car. The memories they were building intertwined with fears of the unknown. They could fill the days with laughter, but the days themselves were shrinking. "You ready for those roller coasters?" Jack asked, choosing to steer the conversation away from the seriousness. "Only if you promise to ride them with me." Tim laughed, teasingly challenging his father. "That'll be a wild ride," Jack declared, feeling a rush of exhilaration. But deep down he pondered, would they be able to hold onto this joy when life beckoned for change? As dusk fell around them again, shadows danced across the road ahead, revealing twists and turns yet to come. Jack held steady to the wheel, navigating the intricate landscape of fatherhood and adolescence. What unexpected turns were waiting for them down this winding road? Would they strengthen their bond or reveal new challenges ahead? With the sun setting behind them, the car glowed with warm, golden light. Jack felt the anticipation rising, blending seamlessly with the gentle hum of the engine. They cruised further from Yarnville, their laughter still buoyant in the air, but a thrill of anxiety lingered underneath. Just how much time did they have left in this sacred bubble before reality encroached? "Dad!" Tim shouted, his voice slicing through Jack's chain of thoughts. "Can we get some ice cream on the way to the amusement park?" "Of course." Perfect treat after a giant ball of yarn, Jack grinned. The slight detour felt like a small victory, the kind that brought them closer, as if they were expanding their little universe even just a bit more as they pulled into an ice cream parlor painted in bright pastels. The sweet smell of waffle cones wafted through the open window. Tim bounded out of the car, his energy infectious. Jack watched him go, a smile creeping onto his face despite the uneasiness still gnawing at him. "Chocolate chip mint," Tim announced excitedly when they reached the counter. "What about you, Dad?" "Can't go wrong with classic vanilla," Jack responded, waving at the attendant who was already scooping generous portions. What was the harm in indulging a little? Moments like these were what he cherished most. Unplanned, unscripted pockets of bliss. With their cones in hand, they found a spot on a weathered wooden bench outside. The peeling paint and rustic charm reminded Jack of summers long past. He took a big bite, letting the creamy vanilla melt. Simple pleasures made even sweeter by the company. "Tim," Jack said, his tone shifting slightly, "when do you think we'll get to ride those roller coasters?" Tim paused, half-full cone in hand. Soon. I can't wait to feel the rush. But what if the rides are scary? Jack chuckled, remembering his own childhood fears. Hey, it's okay to be scared. Just remember nothing's too scary if you're with someone you love. Tim looked up, meeting his father's eyes, a glint of determination sparkling in those wide irises. Then let us be brave together. That'll make it fun. Each word from Tim reminded Jack of the strength they could tap into as a team. It was a precious moment, but as quickly as he enjoyed it, a sense of urgency loomed. If only life felt as simple as ice cream and laughter. After finishing their cones, they hopped back in the car, the thrill of adventure propelling them forward again. The amusement park loomed closer on the horizon, its colorful lights dazzling against the evening sky, a beacon of joy and laughter that promised escape. Suddenly, traffic came to a standstill. Jack's stomach dropped, the thrill from before ebbing into a simmer of anxiety. He glanced over at Tim, who was now tapping his fingers on his knees, uncertainty creeping into his expression. What's going on? Tim asked, confusion clouding his exuberant spirit. Just a jam, buddy. We'll be on our way in a minute. Jack's voice trailed off. How could he explain the suffocating fear of time running out? Tim sighed, casting a disappointed glance out the window, watching the world around them slowly pass by a sea of cars caught in the same web of delays. Jack felt his heart ache for his son, wanting to shield him from all the complexities spiraling outside of childhood innocence. Want to play a game while we wait? Jack suggested, the busyness of their surroundings fading into the background. Yeah. Let us play 20 questions. Tim's face lit up once more, his contagious smile returning. As Jack engaged in this simple game, he kept stealing glances at the amusement park ahead, its silhouette growing more beautiful yet increasingly shadowed by the weight of responsibilities that lay beyond this day. Would they reach that destination? Would they pull through the chaos outside? With each question and answer, they built another layer to their memories, another chapter to their journey. Jack focused on the sound of Tim's laughter, thankful for every moment they shared. But the nagging thought remained, what would tomorrow bring? As they finally surged forward, breaking free from the traffic, Jack felt a sprout of hope within. The lights of the amusement park flickered in the distance, calling them closer. Yet, a nagging thought lingered. Would these moments be enough to combat the uncertainties of the future? What awaited them at the park? Would the rides bring them joy, or would they unearth new fears? The moment they entered the amusement park, colors erupted around them. Lively screams mingled with laughter, creating a symphony of joy that surrounded them like a warm embrace. Jack could feel the pulse of the crowd, an infectious energy that washed away the tension of the car ride. Look, Dad, the Ferris wheel. Tim pointed, his eyes wide with wonder. The towering structure sparkled with bright lights, standing proudly against the twilight sky. Jack felt a swell of excitement, more for Tim than for himself. They were here, in this vibrant place of dreams and thrills. As they ventured deeper into the park, Tim dashed toward a nearby game booth, his legs moving faster than Jack could keep up. The vibrant colors of stuffed animals dangled above, inviting challenge and reward. Can I try, Dad? Tim's voice rang out, filled with eagerness. Jack watched, his heart full but still anxious. Sure, buddy. Just be careful with the rings, he said, even though he knew the challenge would be difficult. As he fished out a couple of quarters, he took a deep breath, reminding himself that this was their time together. It didn't matter if Tim won or lost. What mattered was sharing this experience. Tim aimed carefully, determined to nab a prize. Each toss of the ring thrummed with hope, and for a brief moment, time seemed to pause. When the last ring bounced away, Tim's shoulders slumped, disappointment etched across his face. Jack immediately knelt beside him. Hey, it's okay. You did a great job. I'm proud of you for trying. Tim looked up, and Jack saw a flicker of understanding in those innocent eyes. Can we try again? Tim asked, a flicker of resolve sparking through his words. Absolutely. We'll get our chance, Jack replied, feeling a surge of pride both in Tim's persistence and in the bond they were building. They tossed their quarters into the booth again, sharing laughter and light-hearted banter. Eventually, they stepped away from the game, hands brushing together, Tim laughing at his own silly comments. Jack felt a weight lift, though that nagging significance still tightened around his chest. The joy of this day was layered with unspoken fears. They moved toward the Ferris wheel, and as they climbed into their seats, Jack watched Tim's eager expression transform into a more subdued one when they peeked over the edge. The ground seemed miles away beneath them. "I'm a little scared up here," Tim admitted, gripping the metal railing. "You're okay, buddy. Look at the view," Jack pointed out with enthusiasm. "We're flying high. Isn't it amazing?" But inside, he felt fear creeping, in fear of all the things he couldn't control. Fear of what lay ahead as the Ferris wheel rose and fell. Heartbeats synchronized with the pulsing music below. Jack found solace in the moment. They were wrapped in a bubble just big enough for both of them, suspended between laughter and gravity. But as the ride came to a halt, signaling their descent back into reality, Jack sensed the clock ticking again. They needed to make every minute count, to seize what might soon vanish. "Let us find the biggest roller coaster next," Tim shouted, his previous fear now replaced with infectious excitement. Jack couldn't help but smile despite the worry gnawing inside. "Okay, but remember, together, right? Together," Tim affirmed, determination shining in his eyes as they raced toward the towering coaster. Jack felt a mixture of anxiety and hope. Could they conquer this new fear side by side? Or would this ride expose deeper worries? Only time would tell. And as they approached the entrance, the world around them suddenly seemed daunting, the scariness of the unknown looming larger than ever. What if this roller coaster shook their bonds instead of strengthening them? What lay ahead in this new chapter of their adventure? As they stood in line for the roller coaster, anticipation buzzed in the air, thick like summer humidity. Jack watched him bouncing on the balls of his feet, excitement radiating from him. They were moments away from sitting shoulder to shoulder on the ride that symbolized so much more than mere amusement. It represented the highs and lows of life, the thrilling twists and inevitable drops. "Dad, are you ready for this?" Tim asked, eyes wide and sparkling like the lights that adorned the amusement park. Jack chuckled, masking his own nerves. "Ready as I'll ever be, kiddo," he replied, though inside, he was torn between wanting to unleash joy and the heavy weight of what lay ahead. As they climbed into the coaster seats, a wave of exhilaration washed over Jack. The safety bar clicked into place, sealing them in for the ride of their lives. Tim glanced at his father, searching for reassurance. Jack shot him a confident grin. "Just hold on tight, all right?" he said, trying to sound braver than he felt. The ride roared to life, surging forward with a rush. Tim squealed with glee, joy spilling out into the air as they raced up the track. Jack hadn't felt this kind of elation in years, the sense that they were soaring together, not bound to the ground. As they crested the first hill, Jack's heart raced. A thundering roar echoed in his ears, merging with the laughter and screams of the people below. "Here we go," Tim shouted, his voice drowning out the fears that had haunted Jack for too long. The drop came suddenly, a free-fall sensation that stole Jack's breath. He felt the moment stretch and twist, pure adrenaline taking over. He instinctively grabbed Tim's arm, heart pounding with a mix of fear and exhilaration. And right then, he realized they were going to be okay. The ride twisted and turned, met with shouts and laughter that rang like music. They navigated loops and corkscrews, every rush punctuated by moments of joy. Each drop allowed Jack to set aside his worries and embrace the spirit of now the laughter, the togetherness, and the shared adventure. As they finally slowed to a stop, Tim's face was a portrait of pure exhilaration. "That was incredible," he exclaimed, eyes gleaming. Jack could only nod, feeling lighter than he had all day. "Let us do it again," Tim urged, still high on adrenaline. Before Jack knew it, they were back at the front of the line, ready for another ride, the world around them fading in and out of focus. Between loops and turns, Jack felt himself crying out in delight, a feeling he hadn't indulged in for far too long. They relished each thrill, the weight of their impending separation momentarily forgotten, swept up in the joy of carefree living. But eventually, the thrill faded, and the truly heavy thoughts crept back. As they exited and walked towards the quieter sections of the park, Jack felt the bittersweet pull of reality return, a crescendo of emotions welling inside him. "Dad?" Tim broke the silence as they wandered past cotton candy stands and bumper cars. "What if I really like it and I want to stay at school?" Jack paused, turning to face his son, the unspoken fears drifting in the air between them. "Tim, it's okay to want new things. It's okay to chase your dreams." But Tim hesitated, and in that moment, Jack saw uncertainty painted across his young face, the same apprehension he felt clawing at his own heart. "I'll always be here, no matter where you go," Jack replied, the truth of those words filling the space around them. "You promise?" Tim asked, his voice small but fierce. "I promise," Jack said, sealing it with a nod. Then, as if the cosmos aligned, the sun broke through the clouds. Jack felt a wave of warmth wash over him, basking in the golden glow. Standing side by side, they watched as children enjoyed the last moments of their summer freedom. Jack remembered being a child, filled with the simple joy of the moment. He thought of how fleeting this time was, but instead of sadness, he felt pride for the man he knew Tim was becoming. A light suddenly flickered in the distance, a small stage where a local band was playing. "Let us go dance," Jack suggested, his heart yearning to embrace every ounce of connection left in their day. Tim raised an eyebrow, a smile creeping across his face. "Dance? Are you serious?" "Why not?" Jack laughed. "Let us celebrate." Together, they made their way to the stage, laughter as their soundtrack. Jack felt years peel away, his worries disappearing into the rhythm of the music. Moving to the beat, he saw Tim lose himself in freedom, carefree like the boy he used to be. It was a moment stamped in time, a joyous reminder that while life would change, their bond would not. The music swelled around them, inviting every soul present to join in celebration. The night stretched on, colored with laughter and memories like a beautiful live painting evolving with sounds and motions. Each sway captured the moments they shared. The nostalgic smile of triumph, the quiet understanding of love, and their profound ability to face uncertainty together. As the final notes of the song faded away, Jack looked into Tim's eyes, which sparkled with joy. "Are you ready for the next adventure?" he asked. "Always," Tim replied, a determined spirit lighting his face. That night, Jack knew they had navigated the twists and turns together, holding strong through the fear and excitement of what lay ahead. Tomorrow would bring change, but today was theirs. And as they eventually left the park, hand in hand, despite the world around changing shade, Jack found joy sewn into his heart, an echo of laughter traveling with them into Nebraska's twilight. In that simple act, a kiss, a word, a pulse of love, they sealed their bond as both the wise father and the daring son. Jack's heart swelled knowing this was just the beginning, an adventure where they take their cherished memories and move bravely into a future filled with uncharted roads ahead. Now, as you're here, don't let momentum fade. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you never miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire your heart and mind. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the good vibes rolling. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this epic ending. I want to hear from you. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to show your support like never before. Don't wait, not even one more second, to share this journey.